Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Vodkast. My name is Jessica, and I ate a peanut butter sandwich in the bathroom tonight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vodkast Takes the Hot Seat. It's going to be a show with hot questions and even hotter sauces. We are joined by Geycen, man of mystery and Oreos, YouTuber and musician. He hits the end of his road to 50 this year, and we are here to learn all about him. The man of the hour. Say hello to the people.
Welcome, people. Thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for hosting this, Jess. It's great to be here, and I cannot wait to dig into these sauces.
So the first sauce you're trying tonight is a classic, the classic one. Scoville is 1800.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's
Nothing.
easy. This is unlike the regular hot ones. I'm dunking these in only due to the fact that to toss all of these, I would need I'd need a much bigger kitchen that I don't have. So loading it up, and here we go.
Geycen, you often refer to yourself as an artist, which was in quotations for some reason. You've written books, illustrated prints, performed in several bands, and now are creating content for YouTube. Of all the art forms that you have been creatively taken part in, what's your favorite?
It changes like the wind, honestly. Like I love, in one moment I could be writing a song and sometimes I get locked in, like honestly for like a good, 3 or 4 months, I'll be so focused on just writing music that I totally forget about drawing or painting or whatever I'm doing. The Vodkast is the only thing that's been relatively consistent over the last 10 years or so. But my love for all of them just kind of changes from time to time, where I just get on a kick of drawing and I can't stop drawing. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about those other art forms and what I want to do next when, the moment arises. So, yeah.
Let's move on to nug number 2.
All right. Okay.
Nug number 2 is a Dawson smoky hot sauce with a Scoville of 7,000, I believe.
So that's a jump. That's like a 6,000 Scoville jump here. It's a much thicker sauce, I've noticed too. So I'm not gonna wimp out here. I'm really
No, don't. And we'll have another question lined up for you from the studio audience.
Both so far fantastic sauces, really good.
In the song "Sweet Chewy," you wrote the lyrics, the immortal lyrics. Gotta give them what I want because I know I gotta get some.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget it right now.
What were you referring to in that moment?
A lot of people assume a lot of things about that. I'm out on the streets a lot. I'm traveling, I'm all around the world, and people are like, hey, what were you meaning when you said that? And honestly, it's definitely not a surface level thing. Whenever I performed in the past, I haven't performed in a very long time, but in the back of my head, I want to give people who show up and take the time and the money to come see a show that I'm performing at the best experience I can, whether there's 10 people in the crowd or, 100. Like, I treat every experience like there are 1 million people in the crowd. And I kind of feed off of that energy. And so I got to give them what I got because I know I got to get some. It's almost like a drug. Like, it feeds me. Like, to hear the response from the crowd is it's overwhelming and moving to me. So that's kind of what I meant when I was writing those lyrics.
So, and most people just assume it means vagina, right?
I would assume so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I would assume. So your next sauce is a Clark and Hopkins, I believe.
Yeah.
15,000 Scoville. So another jump.
Yeah. I'll confess, that second one, it wasn't super hot, but it was a huge jump. And if this is double, I'm getting a little nervous. I'm still going to load it up though.
And after you're done eating that, if you'd like to explain to us where the sauces came from, because it's quite an array in front of you.
These were given to me by my wife probably 4 or 5 years ago. I had intentions of doing this for a very long time. I really wanted to run the gauntlet, see how well I could do at it. I've watched Hot Ones ever since its inception, and I really loved the show. Yeah, that's hotter, definitely. And I don't know what it was. I'd been into hot things for quite a while. There's our producer/seducer, Rick Brady, is always sending me something hot. But usually when he's sending me something hot, it is really hot. Like this, at least it amps up a little bit. And I finally got around to, saying, it's time to do this. Let's get off the couch and do this.
Why don't you eat another nugget of one of those so I can ask you the real question now? So you seem to have some strong views on religion. How did growing up in a religious household lead you to where you are today?
I would say that, in some ways, religion in a household isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, there's a lot of morality that gets taught from religion that is really important. My problem when it comes to religion is really the fact that when you're at a young age, you're taught things that are incredibly impossible to, in my opinion, like a snake that talks to you and tempts you and so on and so forth. And I think it starts to lead you down a road of kind of fantasy, which, in my world, obviously you can tell that I've grown up with this kind of like illusion. It really it kind of molded me. And in some ways, and I hate to say this because I have a lot of friends who would very much disagree, but it almost feels like child abuse. Like it's molding a young mind to believe something that they may choose to not believe, but when you're told you're going to burn in hell if you do this, that, and the other, that's tough to live with. And it really messed me up as I was growing up.
Speaking of burning in hell, do you want to move on to your fourth sauce?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So the number 4 is the Angry Goat, and Scoville is 39,000.
39,000.
So another jump.
Yeah, the third one wasn't too bad. I feel like the second one felt a little bit hotter, but all right, here we go.
You're doing really good, running the gauntlet really good here.
That's fantastic. That's great. It's got kind of like almost like a pineapple or a citrus to it.
Cantaloupe and ginger.
Oh, okay.
Cantaloupe and ginger.
Speaking of ginger, I remember a time when you handed me a candy and told me it was a dried piece of pineapple. Turned out to be raw ginger.
It was
not too happy about that.
Whole last piece of ginger.
Yeah, that's rough. That turned me off to ginger for a very long time.
Yeah, that was amazing that you ate it. You have eaten a lot of Oreos. Speaking of eating things, you have eaten a lot of Oreos on the Vodkast. Why is the toasted coconut Oreo such a standout for you?
There's a story that goes with it. At the time, I just kind of started getting into doing Oreo reviews. I was really into the Oreo oration that I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but kind of funny if you look them up. They can't remember it. But nonetheless, I was at this store, which I believe was called a Happy Family Discount Dollar Grocery Store. And I'd always kept my eyes out for new flavors. And I saw this package, and I thought it was I think I was looking for the crispy, like the Rice Krispie ones that had come out during the time. And when I got closer, I was like, toasted coconut. I'd never heard of it before. Never was a huge fan of coconut in things. Didn't really love the flavor of coconut. Sure, I love, a good coconut rum or whatever. But when I ate that flavor of that, I can still remember it to this day. And every time Oreo posts, what flavor should we bring back? I always say, you got to go with that one. And that is one of the videos actually that got a copyright strike because I used the song Friends and Lovers by Gloria Loring and Carl Anderson, one of my favorite musicians ever. And so it's got a lot of history with it. But in that moment, it was the best Oreo I'd ever tasted. Up to this day, I'd say it's still the best Oreo I've ever had. Delicious. Lovely. All these sauces have been delicious and lovely too. I'm shocked that they're, not burning the hell out of my mouth yet. I guess I should knock on wood. I don't want to curse myself.
Number 5 is a Los Calientes Rojo. Yeah,
this is the one I've been looking forward to trying the most. Like, I've seen it on the show, so often. And looks delicious, so.
And this is?
Halfway.
This marks the turning point in the 10-wing challenge. Who is your Mount Everest of artists, musicians, writers?
Good question. Actually, my artist, I would have to say, let's see. My good friend, Artie Nyman, Creations by Arthur T. Nyman. I will put his link in the comments below if you want to check out his Etsy page. One of my favorite artists, Paul Lorenzo, another one, a good friend of mine. Todd McFarlane has always inspired me. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a comic book artist, but I've never been that good of an artist. So he always inspired me. And Larry Elmore, who I got to meet at Mysticon, I hosted a panel only to discover that he was on that panel. And like, I was nervous as hell because he was one of my heroes. After we did our little discussion, I went up to him and I said, listen, Larry, when I was a kid, I hated reading.
Larry, even.
Yeah, I didn't say Mr. Elmore. I might have. I don't remember at the time. But I said, I hated reading. I was not a reader until I was about 17 years old. And there was a book, Dragon's Bottom Twilight, that he illustrated the cover or painted the cover for. And it was his art. Literally, I judged the book by its cover, read the book, and ever since that day, I've been locked in. Musicians, my good friend Scott Levesque, who is in Wheat, Blair's Carriage. I've always been inspired by him. We used to hang out, and I'd listen to him play. We'd play together, and I really loved. He's kind of an eclectic guy, a weird kind of dude in some ways that really inspired me. Slash from Guns N' Roses was my number one guitar inspiration my whole life growing up. I didn't have a lot of guitar gods that I looked up to, and he was one of them. And if I'm saying Slash, I got to say Axl too. Being a singer, I couldn't fathom how amazing like his rasp was and how he attacked a song, and it was just really neat. So I'm going to say for the last one, Carl Anderson, who was just a phenomenal, he passed away several years ago. He's from Lynchburg, Virginia, where I grew up. And I met Jesus here, Ted Neely, and I got to meet Carl Anderson's family. So that was quite the experience. And yeah, great time. Good time. Authors, obviously Stephen King. The Dark Tower was a huge just turning point in my life, changed the way I looked at books in a way. Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, they definitely opened the door to reading for me. And R.A. Salvatore, the way he writes his battles, I feel like I'm there and I'm watching Drizzt and, fighting whoever he's fighting at the time. Yeah. Did I miss anyone writing? Oh, Mike Patton. Yeah, no one is vocally talented, in my opinion, as Mike Patton. He can do it all, anywhere from opera to just making guttural sounds. If you never heard Adult Voice for Song, I think is the name of the album he put out, where he recorded in a hotel room, basically him in a 4-track. And it's the most crazy thing, but at the same time, realizing that all that is his voice is nuts. And I do have to give a shout out to Stephen Platt, the artist, too. I spoke with him a little bit yesterday. He illustrated the comic book Prophet back in like the late 80s, early 90s, right? Probably early 90s around that time.
These sauces aren't slowing down at all? You doing good?
No, not yet, but we're on the back end, and I'm getting a little nervous because I know when we hit around here to here, I've had this sauce before, and I know what it does to me. So
well, let's move on to number 6, called the Queen's Majesty. This is one of Sean Evans' favorite makers, the Queen Majesty, with 71,000 Scoville.
I did not know that. I'm going strong on the dunk again. Here we go.
Yeah, get in there, kid.
What's the Scoville count on this?
Let's see here. Hold on a second. 71,000. Does it taste like 71,000?
That's a funny thing with a lot of these sauces. Like you take a bite, the flavor of that is amazing. I really enjoy it a lot, but I definitely feel it like building a little bit, especially in the back of my throat. But I still don't feel the need to have to rush for a drink yet. So
with all the video work you've done, have you ever considered making any other cinematic creations?
I am glad you asked that because I have been sitting on some ideas for quite a while now, and nobody takes me seriously when I talk about this. But I have a great idea for a prequel and a sequel to Gremlins. Let's get rid of Gremlins 2 because, let's face it, that's just a joke. It's a horrible movie. Unfortunately, Gremlins 3 is in the works now, but Gremlins this prequel would have Murray Futterman actually fighting in World War II and discovering the origins of how the Mogwai came to be in our world. And the sequel would be a post-apocalyptic Gremlins story where the Gremlins have taken over basically at this point and humanity is trying to survive. Other than that, like I've run Dungeons and Dragons games my whole life. 30 years I've been running this world of Athalia, and some of the stories that come out of that are really original, and I don't think Hollywood's like focusing on fantasy as much as it. Well, I guess it kind of is at the time, but not to the degree I'd like to see them focus on it. And I would love to see a screenplay of My World of Athalia. Definitely.
I think more cinematic releases as opposed to streaming service would need to look into Athalia.
Yeah. Streaming definitely is bigger now. I mean, honestly, like as much as I love going to the theater and seeing a movie, for me to go with my family and have the experience of popcorn and soda, this one's getting to me here.
Is it?
It's hot. It's a $75-$80 package deal, and that's a lot of money nowadays. So yeah, streaming, sure. If Netflix, you want to approach me, I'm approachable.
So that last one's bothering you a little bit?
Yeah, I might take a little drink of this White Russian. Yeah.
Okay, so with number 7, we're going to be turning the heat up to 109 Scoville, the Jekyll and Hyde sauce.
All right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You going to make it all the way to the end of this?
So far, I think so.
Okay.
I don't want to wimp out. I don't want to, throw in the towel, so to speak. So here we go.
Throw in the nugget.
Sweet right off the gate.
There it is.
There it is.
So speaking of D&D in your last statement, can you briefly summarize your life as it pertains to the game, please?
Sure. D&D is life. When I was about 16 years old, a friend of mine, Joe Hooper, invited me to go to, I can't remember what it was. It was a timeshare down the Cape, and he introduced me to the game. And I fell in love with it right off the bat because it allowed me to create a character and live out the life of a hero or a villain if I wanted to. D&D, ever since that day, I started running my own games probably about 6 months later. And it's another like creative outlet. It's another way to release that creative energy. And without it, I don't know where my life would be at this point. I've had such great experiences with you, with so many friends that, it's a massive part of my life.
It's funny you mentioned that you were brought down to a little cave house and played D&D. It's such a different experience when a woman is brought down to a cave house to be shown something. Let's go to number 8. So number 8 is Da Bomb. It is 135,600 Scoville. You ready?
That is the deceptive thing about this, because even though it says it's 136 or whatever it is, like it seems like most people's reaction to this is way more than their reactions to number 9 and 10. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll show you. I'm just going to kind of dip it in there.
All right. Hey, it's in there.
It's in there. And I will state that this is actually, I don't know why they ship it with this, but this is the evolution. This is not Beyond Insanity. So I don't know, completely honestly, if it's going to taste better, be less hot, but the moment of truth. I see where people say the taste of it is awful. It tastes like burnt rubber.
Mm-hmm. How's the heat?
I don't want to curse myself here.
No, it's okay. While you're thinking about it, you grew up in an era where showing your emotion was often frowned upon, but you seem to know where your heart is and wear it on your sleeve. How did you avoid the pitfalls of becoming emotionally repressed?
That's the thing is, like, I think holding back how you feel is like holding back who you are, and it's a waste of life. Like, I don't know if it was my mother's influence. I grew up with my mom kind of raising me. My dad died when I was about 7. Jesus Christ, that is hot, and that is growing very rapidly. But it seems like, telling people how you feel about them, showing people who you really are, and not hiding behind a mask, hiding behind, being fake, I mean, suppressing emotions is only going to, hurt you on the inside longer and longer. And I think just being yourself is the most important thing. Be true to yourself. You will never fall.
And is that why you always tell everybody that the Vodkast loves them very much?
That is a huge message. And I know a lot of people probably don't get to it at the end of the videos, but like, Mr. Rogers, Jim Henson, and Bob Ross are probably three of my holy trinity of influences. I think that, like, honestly and earnestly telling people that they're cared for, that they are loved is important, especially nowadays. Like, it seems like suicide rates, people who are, depression seems like it's at an all-time high. And I may only be reaching a few hundred people for a video, but I hope that, saying that to people lets them know that, honestly, like, there are people out there that care for them. There are people that love them.
Yep.
And there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
If you've made it this far into the video and you're still watching, just remember the Vodcast loves you very much.
Just the way you are.
Let's move on to number 9.
Whew. All right.
So we've left the bomb behind, and we are now up to the Pucker Butt Pepper Company. The Scoville on that, or Schoville, I believe. Have I been saying it wrong?
Scoville.
The Schovilles are, take a bite and I'll tell you.
Okay.
702,000.
That's like almost 7 times the amount of the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. This is one of Smoking Ed's favorites. Oh, fuck.
While you're dealing with that, what would you say is your biggest weakness?
My impatience, which in a way is a curse and a blessing, because I am very impatient in the fact that I really love to constantly be doing something. If I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm wasting time. And at 50 years old, I have a lot less life to live now than I have already lived. But as a curse, it makes me a dick sometimes, and I can be really mean. And that's one of those things that, like, I really want to work on as a person to become more patient. And I think I've done really well over the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, my biggest weakness is my impatience.
I heard that was the same as Mr. Rogers, so you're doing quite well.
Good.
I once watched a blooper of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood where he beat the shit out of King Friday. So I think you're doing fine. So we have reached the end of the road. As you are reaching the end of the road to 50.
Yeah.
Tradition around here is we put a little last dab on the nugget. And by tradition, I mean we're doing this for the first time tonight.
That's true.
So it's now tradition. So the last dab looks like that clocks in at around... Let me see that dab. Not a bad dab. So 2 million Scoville, or Schoville, if you will.
Scoville. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Take a bite of that nug, and we'll ask you the last question here on Cryptidbits host the Vodcast Nugget Hot Ones.
Listen, the best cryptid podcast on YouTube is Cryptidbits with General Tidbits. If you're not checking it out, you're out of your mind. Jess is the host, the best host on the internet. Check her out, or else. I've had this before, and that's why this little dab is, I know this is a lot. Here we go.
2 million Scoville.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to me Geycen in 5 years.
Well, if I'm still around, I certainly hope that I have been successful at one of the many forms of art that I enjoy creating, whether it be drawing. Personally, I'd love to see the Vodcast become a household name. This has been an experience the last 10 years, ever since I started the road to 40, now to the road to 50. I can't believe it's been 10 years, but it's been such a therapeutic thing for me to come on here. And a lot of this stuff, obviously, I'm doing a lot of Oreo reviews and demos and eating things like I just discovered these, which I'd been hunting down for a while, the Minecraft Spicy TNT.
We just opened those yesterday in my house.
Oh, what'd you think of them?
I did not eat them. I heard they were spicy.
And I think as a person who is turning 50 years old, I don't see myself going out on tour. I couldn't imagine that at this point in my life. I'll never stop writing. I'll never stop, making music. But I would love to see some art form be where I am successful, in the next 5 years.
So you have completed the challenge with nary a sweat drop.
I don't know what to say. Yeah, I am completely shocked. Honestly, all day I've been thinking, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. By the time we get down here, I'm done for. But I honestly, all of this really kind of does prep you for this, I think.
Yeah.
And as hot as these have been, the flavors in these have all been pretty good, with the exception of the bomb here, which was just gross. Not very good, but I think that's the point of this sauce.
I think you know that going in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight to learn a little something about Geycen, the man, the myth, the 50-year-old legend. And as we always like to say here at the Vodkast, if you're loving the content we're creating as much as we love creating the content that you're watching, please consider liking, following, commenting, subscribing, desubscribing, telling us we're shit, hating the content, and then but still subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to make somebody smile today and make yourself a better person tomorrow than you were today, tomorrow. Live life to the fullest and love every minute of it, because you just don't know when that last moment's going to arrive.
It's true.
However, never live in fear of that moment. Always live in love and never let your inner child die. Yeah, I was going to do that, but I'll let you do that.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and take care of those around you, because why? They need it the most.
They do.
And if nobody has told you today that they love you, Jessica loves you very much, just the way you are. All right, guys, I'm Jessica. This is the Vodkast, and I'll catch you a little further on down the road. Take care and happy adventuring.
Take care, my friends. Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you for doing this for me. And thank you guys for checking it out.